You are live. Might not show up.
Oh, cool.
All
right.
There's a delay.
That's fine.
Hi. Thank you for bearing with us. I promise this is not a thing that is good to do in June, but it is April, so please provide us a little grace as we get our tech in order.
I'll also be honest and say that we purposely build in extra time because we know it will take us extra time to set up every single time. So that is definitely something you should be thinking about with your running time. If you're the type of person that, like us, runs late because, hello, traffic Los Angeles, maybe you might want to make sure that you always have 5 minutes of that wiggle room so that you can have that time, just like we did today. We'll still end on time.
Interest.
Cool.
All right, hi y'all. So we will officially get this going now that we've yammered on a little bit. My name is Lois. My pronouns are she, her. I am your co-festival director. A visual description, I am a white woman with mid-length dark brown hair, currently wearing a pink shirt and a jean jacket. And Ellen, take it away.
Hi, I'm Ellen.
I'm the other half of the co-directorship. My pronouns are she or they. I am a white woman with brown hair, bangs, some curls, and I'm wearing a black jumpsuit and a windbreaker that has some like macrame on it. And I'm just really excited to be here with everybody and dive in before this summer.
Yes, welcome to the last town hall of the HFF 23 season. We are here. How are we feeling? Yes, okay. Yes, I love the energy. Good. Welcome. You're doing the right thing already because you are here. Showing up is going to get you so far in this process. So how many people here are first-time Fringers? Do you want to raise your hand? Awesome! I say this all the time, but in case I haven't said it to you personally, welcome to the family. This is a family, it's a community. It's so much more than just putting on some plays in the summer. So welcome. With that, we're going to try to keep this portion kind of short because we want to make sure there's time for questions because I'm guessing you have them. You should, if you've been paying attention and starting to gather everything you need for the festival, you will have questions. So we're going to make sure there's time for that. And if you're joining on YouTube, please use the chat. Our wonderful programs manager, Kevin, is, I don't know what camera to look at, but he's on the chat, so make sure you're adding in on that as well. So I'm going to keep it short, and I'm going to try really hard not to talk fast. If I start to just speed through, please, like full permission to just start waving your hands in a wild fashion and get my attention. I need it. This is something I'm working on, so if you can help me work on that, that would rock. So a lot of what we're going to go through today is available elsewhere. We have the participant packet, we have the supportal, we have emails, we have so many other ways to gain literally everything we're going to talk about today. So just take a deep breath and know that it's available after today. So you don't have to worry if only 20% of what we're putting down is actually getting digested. That's okay, because this is supposed to kind of be a lightning round to get your brains thinking of like the questions that you're going to have later, start to kind of prepare your journey in that way. Before we dive in fully, I want to do a land acknowledgement. The Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrielinos. Our statement serves as a practice as we continue to further our commitment to the indigenous communities past, present, and emerging. Sorry. The Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrielinos. Thank you. Reminder, this town hall is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube. So hello, everyone watching from home. I hope you are cozy in your jams, because that's a great way to spend a Saturday, is town hall, some coffee and jammies. Thank you to David Haverty, our newest team member at Hollywood Fringe, for making this all happen. Welcome, David. We're so happy to have you. And we have Kevin. I'll say it again just so people still feel they can get involved in the chat. Kevin is on the chat, so ask questions, start to talk to each other, join in community no matter where you are from home, here, all of that. If you have any accessibility needs that are not currently being met, please let a member of staff know. Today that member of staff would be Kevin. Also, if you think of something after today that would make your journey more helpful, email support@hollywoodfringe.org with any accessibility needs. You can also schedule an interpreter like we have today, at least 72 hours in advance for foreign events. That's when you're going to want to email support to make sure we have an interpreter available for you. We have lots to go through today, but I'm going to remind you that we have the participant packet, past workshops, all of these things available after today. So deep breath, we're going to get through it all, okay? All right, upcoming events.
Boom. It's my turn.
This list is shorter now, which is exciting.
Yeah, we're mostly through our pre-season events. So it's super great that you guys are here because we've been having these for months. So if you have not been able to catch our workshops or any of the past events that have happened, I highly encourage you to go online and take care of yourself and maybe like watch them while you're cooking, like while you're doing your things at home, like start to kind of get into that fringe mode. We have every panel that has ever taken place ever
12 years, 13 years of panels.
on our YouTube. And they actually all are still a little bit relevant. Some of them might have things that are a little bit different, like before live stream or before any of these things. But then we have so many from 2019 on that are still really, really pertinent to today. Okay, so town halls like today, if you want to go back and watch our first one, that one was about registration. I think you guys can kind of probably gotten there already, so you don't have to go back and watch that one necessarily, but that one is also on there. And town halls are where Lois and I just like spew information at you. Like you're gonna be like, oh my god, shut up by the end of this, and it's such a good way, because after this we want you guys to all talk to each other, get to know each other, be hanging out. And we have them hybrid, they're live streamed, but we're in person and in community together. Our workshops this year are all online. We've had so many of them. And then our last one, we were like, you know what? It's right before the festival. Let's be in person. So we have our last workshop next week, and that will be in person at the Broadwater. Look at me not looking at my notes. And that is where we have a panel of experts, people who have won awards at Hollywood Fringe before, people who have gone on to take their show to future runs at different places, people who can be like, you know what, I've done Fringe before, and this is how I did it. So much of your journey is going to be up to you. So much of what you want to get out of Fringe is up to you. And this is the time where you kind of have to decide, is it getting butts and seats? Is it selling tickets? Is it getting press and reviews and accolades? Is it awards? These are the things that you want to pick out what you want to do. Is it about meeting new people or just getting your show up for the first time? Because that's an okay goal, especially because this is not meant to be the end of your show's journey. Hollywood Fringe is just supposed to be a stepping stone on the way to do something else. So any of these goals, I say pick two. Don't spread yourself super thin. Start to narrow yourself in on these two goals, and then the other ones will come as long as you're showing up, being present, and participating in the process. Okay, and then we have one other type of panel type thing coming up, which is our virtual web session. So these sessions are meant to help navigate the Fringe site, which is complicated because it's chock full of 12 years of information and all of the information that it takes to run a festival with hundreds of shows. So it is sometimes hard to find out, where do I find these things? How do I find this resource? And that's what these are for. Lois goes through the portal. She'll go through all of the ticketing, how to add a comp, how to make sure that you're doing all these things. So our next virtual web session is Tuesday, May 2nd, and it's going to focus on how to navigate the site during the festival and during tickets on sale. So if you were one of those people that's overwhelmed by technology, me, please come to that. It is super helpful, and it's also recorded if you can't come live. Again, support at hollywoodfringe.org is going to be your best friend for when you're navigating it in the moment and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to do this thing and I can't figure out how to do it. Like, we're there for you. We've got you. We've probably gotten the question before. And then if we haven't, it's really good that we know that that isn't available for you and that we can change that for future people. So never feel like questions are a bad thing at Fringe. All of your questions help us make the festival better. Networking. Okay, so be a part of this community. Show up. It really, really matters because once it comes to the festival time, being able to see your friend and be like, I've been with them at office hours for months, and feeling like you already have your community built in is just going to help. And we have a couple different types of ways to get involved from home or in person. So our weekly office hours are back. Those are in person. They are at bars around Hollywood, and they are a riot. They're every Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Our next one is this Wednesday, at the 19th at St. Felix. And then every Wednesday after that, it's at a different bar, different vibes each time, different drink specials. And if you aren't a drinker, you do not have to drink to come. There's also always mocktail or sodas or other things that you can have. Or if you're, just coming to be in community, some of our spaces know that, or all of our spaces know that. again, it's such a great opportunity to meet cast members, to meet, if you're like, I need this person on my production team and I've never met somebody yet. Meeting fellow artists within the festival is going to be your best way to find collaborators. So if you're still in that process where you're like stuck on that one casting moment, or you will really need a PR person, or there's something that you're looking to fill on your production team, office hours is such a good resource for you to be able to meet people. And if you're online or you're coming in from out of town, guess what? We have virtual office hours. Virtual office hours, I encourage our friends that come in person to do those as well, because you'll meet a whole new set of people. And what's so great about them is we put you in these little rooms and you have like these, like, it's like speed networking. You just like get moved around different little rooms on Zoom and you meet new people and you get to share space with each other. And so we have 3 of those, Thursday the 420, Monday 5/1, and Monday 5/22. Those are all 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. So again, these are all on the website. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can't write down all these dates, you don't have to. Yeah, and you can also go onto our Facebook where we have them all listed. We try and put everything on social media as well. So again, you have like these many resources. So for these events, I like went through a bunch of them. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, don't worry. If you go to our homepage, you click on news, you click on HFF 23 events, you have a list of all of the events that are available to you there. And there's also a little calendar link where you can add them all to your calendar so that you won't miss a thing. So
The staff does that, and it really helps us remember what events we've scheduled. So it works both ways.
yes. And the other thing that you need to make sure you're paying attention to is our participant newsletters. So we've told you we have all these resources. Guess what? We also email them to you regularly. And if you have a project and you have people on your production team that you haven't yet added to your production page, do it now, because they'll get added to our participant email list as well, and they'll get these notifications as well. So every week we'll be sending at least 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 updates about what is happening, how to get involved, how to figure out what's going on. So please make sure you're tuned into those.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk resources, because I think that's a great segue. So we talk, like we've already mentioned, we're going to give you a lot of information today, and you shouldn't have to hold on to any of it. You won't. In fact, don't think that that's really a possibility, unless, I mean, I couldn't. So maybe you can, and if you can, my goodness, you need to join the team. We need you on ours.
We write the dates and I still get them wrong.
Yeah.
So know that like it's okay, but we have all these resources so that you can just like get reminded in the morning what's coming up.
Yeah, so these resources that we're going to continue to mention today, just over and over and over again, are going to be the participant packet, hollywoodfringe.org/participants. How many people have seen that packet so far? Raise your hands. Okay, awesome. Not nearly enough of you. And I'm saying that as something, because it's for you. We literally put 60 pages of information, literally all the things we talk about in these town halls, these workshops, basically everything we've learned over the last 13 years about the Fringe process is in that 60-page guide. So do yourself a favor, if you haven't already, grab that today. It goes in phases to make your journey a little more digestible too. And we'll talk more about that later, but I want to just shout it from the rooftops. Participants, hollywoodfringe.org/participants. The portal, that is going to be another incredibly useful tool. Half of the things, if you're emailing support and asking a question, usually you're going to end up with an answer and then a link to an article that goes into further detail. That is coming from the portal, because we've created these articles based on questions we've gotten, or processes that we realized were a little complicated and wanted to give step-by-step instructions. So that is support.hollywoodfringe.org. Articles about everything in there. But you can also save yourself some trouble. 99% of those articles that we know are useful are linked in the participant packet. So again, the participant packet, a real packet of gold. Newsletters, Ellen already mentioned it. I'm going to re-mention it. Newsletters are important, especially at this stage in the game. I'm guessing you are here, so odds are you are already signed up to our general newsletter. But if not, please go to hollywoodfringe.org/newsletter and make sure you're getting, that is the general. That's what we send out to the general public and general audience. Additionally, if you have registered your show, you are added to the participant newsletter. And Ellen said this is super important, especially this week, y'all. I'm going to warn you, we have 3 already lined up, because this next week is important. We have our first big deadline coming up, right? So keep an eye on those newsletters. In fact, save newsletter, not plural, newsletter at hollywoodfringe.org as a contact in your email. That way they don't go to spam, they don't go to promotions, and promotions is the big one. The promotions folder eats up our emails. So make sure you save that contact so you don't miss a beat throughout this process. Follow us on social. That's another great way to make sure that maybe you missed what was in the newsletter, but we're going to put it on social at some point too. So follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. We're hip with the cool things people are doing. We're going to do more in June, but follow us on all those platforms. It's at Hollywood Fringe across the board. Use hashtag HFF23 when you're posting about Fringe. Also tag us at Hollywood Fringe. That way we can reshare, and we'll talk more about kind of how to get our platform to reshare posts and things like that later. But remember to tag Hollywood Fringe and use hashtag HFF23 when posting on social media. And the biggie, we've said it so many times already, but I'm going to keep saying it. Support at hollywoodfringe.org is your new best Fringe pal. That is Wiley behind the computers, and sometimes myself, Ellen, but someone from the member of our team is behind that computer, and we're there to support you. That is literally our job. Our job is to support artists and uplift your work. So use us, use that resource. Email us with questions. There's nothing that's silly. There's nothing that we're never not excited to hear from you, because we get to help along your journey. So please let us do that and email support whenever you have any questions or issues. All right, ethos. Let's talk community.
Boom. This is
key dates.
I was gonna like
let's
maybe circle back.
That's a pretty important thing. Okay, let's hit key dates, y'all, because we have some big ones coming up. I feel like this is the list of dates we've been talking about, but now they're real, like they're actually tangible. We can reach out and touch them. But that's okay. Again, deep breath. We're gonna make it through, because every time we get to a key date, that means one thing is behind us, so it's good. So key dates. The deadline for the printed guide is April 20th. I know we've been harping on that. So April 20th is coming up. We will talk about exactly what that means later, but I want that in your brains. April 20th. April 22nd. This is a new date. So no, you're like, wait a second, I didn't know about this. We're just now introducing it. I want to get that date in your brain, because on April 22nd, we will be sending out guide proofs. Again, we will talk more about that a little later, but that'll be an important day to check your inboxes, because there's going to be a 48-hour window for you to get last eyes on printed guide materials. So just keep that in mind. April 22nd, find your way to a computer or a phone. Tickets go on sale on May 1st. We're almost there, and you can start all of this marketing. You can finally say, okay, hit go, buy those tickets, fill those seats. And then we have previews, of course, June 1st through the 6th, with our opening night party on June 7th. June 7th, there will be no shows. That is the day we celebrate. Oh, no, thank you. Perfect. I need the reminder. Thank you. So June 7th is the opening night party. There are no shows that day. It is only about community and celebrating what you've done thus far and what you are going to do over the next month. So June 7th, remember that. You're going to want to be there. And we're not announcing yet.
No, that's what I was going to say. Also, all of these dates you don't got to write down too. They're all going to be emailed to you. They're all on the website. All of them are there as well, just in case we're like overly, if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't write down all of these. I promise that we've got them for you in multiple forms, because we know that everybody learns in different ways. Some people need to hear it out loud. Some people need it written down. And we're going to try and hit every single way that you learn to give you this information.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, why 3 participant emails are going out this week, because we want you to make sure to hit all of these deadlines. We're on your team, so we're going to do what we can to make sure you have the information. So the official festival will be June 8th through the 25th. Hot damn, we are almost there, y'all. And then we sleep in July, so it's coming. The sleep is coming. And then June 25th, of course, our awards and closing night party. We're almost there. Cool. Now we can really go into it.
Now we're going to talk about what I think is probably the most important point we're going to hit today, which is about our community ethos and what we expect out of our community members. We really want to ground this and why we talk about this and why it's important for our team. This festival is built on the freedom of expression and lack of censorship, which means we must maintain the utmost respect for each other to create a safe place for people to take risks to do their work. We do not censor your words unless they are actively harmful towards a protected group. For example, women, people of color, queer and trans folks, disabled folks, deaf folks, fat folks, religious folks. The list goes on. We are not here to see people punch down. We're punching up, right? There are limits to our uncensored nature, and that limit is set by our access committee and is enforced by our staff and our code of conduct committee. We are a very diverse community, one that often has more women and non-binary folks producing than men, and we attempt to foster a community where we do not face the gendered issues that we typically face in a working environment. We're on a path to making this a more accessible space, and that means sometimes people might use disability-related terms that you're not familiar with, or an interpreter might block your view, and it might be a little bit harder for you. But we encourage you to take that as a learning opportunity. Google those terms, move seats. We have a lot of privilege as we move through this space, and so as we're making space for folks, we're gonna have to make some changes. We are a space that is committed to anti-racism, not only through our words, but through our actions. In many environments, people face microaggressions and racism on a daily basis, and at Fringe, we actively work to keep these behaviors out of our space. We are radically aware of this, and we try and engage folks in conflict resolution as much as possible. We are fiercely protective of this ethos. Do not test us. We reserve the right to ask you to take a break from our space or to leave at any time. This isn't to scare you, too. This is to encourage us all to take this path into creating an inclusive community that we all feel comfortable in, so we can all take risks and make an incredible theater festival together in community. This is also a promise to those in this room that face these issues that we're gonna work with y'all to make sure that you have a comfortable time moving through our space, because this space is meant for you and meant for you to be comfortable in.
Yep, absolutely. And it's transparency, right? Because Ellen says we're not trying to scare you, but it's important to be transparent about what we expect and what this community deserves. And it's a team effort. There's hundreds of Fringers. This is a family, like we said. And Ellen and I cannot do it alone. So we need the community to step up collectively so that we can provide this space for everyone, because we all deserve it. We deserve to thrive here, and we want to make sure we're creating that for each other. So in addition to the community ethos, we do have a serious code of conduct. Oh, thank you. Thank you, good catch. So we do have a serious code of conduct. This code of conduct you signed in your artist agreement when you first registered for the festival. And that's, again, with transparency. That way you know going in exactly what is expected so that you don't have any issues and you move through the space without any questions. The following are not allowed within our community: microaggressions, verbal and physical intimidation, hate speech and harassment, sexual harassment and assault, excessive consumption of alcohol or other legal substances, aggressive behavior or disrespectful behavior. As you are navigating this festival, we ask that you be mindful of things that are less obvious. Think about intention versus impact. Intent is not always what you aim to achieve through an action. It's the impact it has on a person or a community that receives that action. The impact of an action does not always match the intent. Good intentions do not always result in a positive impact. And although intention may not be to hurt someone, that doesn't mean that harm cannot still be done. And in the Hollywood Fringe space, we look at the impact of our actions, whether direct or indirect, and beyond the original intention. And that's why we do work with you, but know that that is something that we take very seriously, how your actions or behaviors affect the community. So that is something we look at. Public versus private interaction is another thing we want to make you aware of and think about as you move through the space, especially because, like we keep saying, we're a community, we're a family. You're going to make close friendships here. It's inevitable. You're going to create really strong bonds, and with that comes a comfortability, right? We need to remember that within that comfortability, to be mindful of where you are, because at the end of the day, Fringe is still a professional environment, and we have the same expectations that any professional environment would have. So be aware of your public versus private interactions. Our actions, discussions, and behaviors are nuanced between different spaces. And sometimes what is appropriate in one setting, we all know, we're adults, is not appropriate in others, especially when you are in a public space like we just talked about. The Hollywood Fringe public spaces, those are public spaces. So even I might be speaking to Ellen, and we might have an inside joke that is not necessarily what somebody perceives, but if it is heard by someone else in the room, that is still an impact. That is still someone being harmed by what we're saying. And so we have to remember that we are in a public space at Fringe and keeping those things in mind.
And then I just really quickly also want to speak to your position as the primary producer. It's not just about you. It's about making sure that your cast and your crew knows about this ethos and is living it with you. Print it out, bring it to your first rehearsal, remind people that this is the space for that. Because when we're all in party mode, we don't want to be talking about you making a mistake. We want to be like, okay, great, we're celebrating, and everybody is safe in that celebration and not being talked to in a way that it doesn't feel safe or doesn't feel exciting. Because really, as we know, all of you are artists and all of you want to make a beautiful impact on this world. You all want it to be better. We understand that. So let's do that together.
Absolutely. And if you make a mistake, bravely take responsibility for that. So that's something I think we're all learning too, is like, listen and learn if you do make a mistake, and don't let pride or ego or like white supremacy culture get in the way of learning from a mistake. And that's something we take very seriously. We don't believe in punishment when it's avoidable. We believe in bringing people in and talking people through. This is a learning. We talk about the safe space that goes for learning as well. So there are a lot of options when something comes up where we can actually learn and communicate together. That is not always the case.
Because it is a community, and we have to protect the collective over the individual whenever possible. So when somebody's facing something, we know that it's not just them that has faced that. If it's something that we've heard that is coming through, it's something that we can prove has happened, we're going to have a conversation with you about it. And your response is going to matter. Your response being like, oh, there's no way I could have ever done something like this, or there's no way that this is happening. That's a very defensive reaction, rather than, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Let's unpack how we can make sure that it doesn't happen again. Because that's the intentionality. How can we make sure that nobody ever feels unsafe around you again?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, like, participating in Fringe is a privilege. It is not a right. That is in your artist agreement. And if we can't act professional, if we can't take care of each other, then we don't get to be here. And that's really, we don't ever want to make that call, and it doesn't happen often. So know too, like, this is not to scare you. It's not like Ellen and I are, removing hundreds of participants on a regular basis. On two hands, I can count the amount of times this has actually happened in our festival.
In 12, 13 years?
Yeah. So, but it does happen, and we're not afraid to protect the whole, like Ellen is saying. So just keep that in mind as you navigate, so that we never have to have a conversation about it. And because we reserve at the end of the day the right to not uplift your work through this platform. So just keep that in mind. And if we come to you about a complaint, like Ellen is saying, take that seriously. Be respectful, and we can likely work through it. But it really depends on how you react to that. If you witness or experience any of what we're talking about, talk to a member of staff. We're speaking, so I don't have my badge. If Kevin can hold up his badge, so staff will have badges on. The picture will change this next year as our branding does. Oh, yes, to the camera. Thank you. Beautiful, thank you, Kevin. So Fringe staff will wear these badges at in-person events. Come to any member of the Fringe staff if you have an issue. If they are not the right person, they will certainly make sure the right person is brought into the conversation. And at any time, email conduct@hollywoodfringe.org, and we will get back to you directly. 24 hours is the longest a conduct email will go without a response. So know that we are here for you, and Ellen and I are mama bears about protecting this space because it's what we all deserve. So no, we love you, and we want you to succeed, and part of that is making sure we have strict boundaries.
And it's 72 hours that we'll respond within, just in case we're on an off day, because sometimes our staff does take one day off per festival. So
occasionally it happens.
But it's usually 24 hours because we're mama bears and we can't relax. Cool.
Everybody's fine.
We have no boundaries. COVID safety, another talk about boundaries. We do not have any festival-wide COVID audience guidelines this year. If you want to include any for your production, please feel free to. We fully support you, but it'll need to be managed by your production. So what does that mean for you? The primary producer of your show, likely you, will be required to be the person that's checking on any of those, or assigning somebody on your team to check for masks, or if you're going to do a vaccine check or any of those things. It just means that you are responsible for scheduling that out, and the venues will not be providing that service. Nobody's going to tell you can't do that. Nobody's going to step in the way of that. It's just something that you need to put on your production team. In addition, though we do have guidelines, if you or a team member tests positive, that is a very, very important thing for you to follow and for you to be aware of. If you or a crew member or a venue team member tests positive, we require that you report your exposure or infection to support@hollywoodfringe.org and your venue rep, so that everybody's in the loop. Neglecting to report this and just kind of hiding it does violate our code of conduct, because that is you putting other people at risk when you know that you might have something that's going on. But don't worry, there's some guidelines for being exposed versus testing positive, and I'm going to go through both right now. So if you have tested positive, you get that COVID test and you're like, oh, crap. Consider all team members you've been in contact with over the past 10 days as a possible exposure, and we'll talk about what that means. Email support right away so that we can begin the process of rescheduling or moving tickets if it's necessary for your production. If your show can go on without that team member, totally good. You just need to make sure that all of your exposed team members procure a negative test anytime you'll be on site within those 10-day marks, and that your cast and crew should wear a mask when they're not on stage if they've been exposed. This is because we have hundreds of productions. Probably in most of your venues, at least 80 shows running through your space. So if you've been exposed and you're like willy-nilly about it, you could expose 80 different productions who will then completely collapse the festival. So when you're testing positive, it is really, 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 really important that you are taking into consideration this. If you feel a scratch in your throat or you've been exposed, here's some other guidelines. We consider a contact or exposure as being around a positive individual for 15 minutes, masked or unmasked, indoors or outdoors. You must report this exposure to us and your venue rep, and then we'll be able to take care of you. Because really, what we're here to do is support you through it. It seems scary, but we've done 2 COVID festivals. We did a festival in 2021 where it was a lot more scary, and then we did it last year as well. And we were able to minimize infections on site last year, and in 2021 we had 0. And you want to know why? Masks. So just letting you know, it's really important that if this does happen, you take it really seriously. You do not need to stay home, like I said, from your scheduled performances until you develop symptoms, but you should wear a mask while you're not performing. So if you get exposed, you don't have to stay home from your shows, but you should wear a mask. We encourage you to not go to social events if you've been exposed. Again, it will collapse the festival. It will affect other people's ticket sales, and that's not fair. If something happens, if we get an exposure, we don't want it to spread around the site. We want it to come from outside. You know what I mean? Start to think about June as a time where you're taking less risk, because it is already going to be risky to be doing all of these shows all together in community. Thankfully, we've had, like I said, we've had a successful festival. We've rescheduled those shows. And you know what ticket buyers usually do? They either donate the ticket or they just move to a new performance. They literally do not ask for a request. It is really not something you should be scared of because of money. They actually want to support you and know that COVID is still a thing. So don't be afraid. Chat with us. We're going to give you these guidelines. We have an article online with all of these guidelines. If you email us immediately, we're going to be like, oh my gosh, take care of yourself. Are you drinking fluids? Are you resting? Like, do not worry. We are supportive of you healing and your team members healing, and then making sure that it doesn't spread across the festival. In conclusion, trust your boundaries and communicate them. Make sure you're following the isolation protocols if you get sick. Respect that not everybody is ready to hug or share a drink or do the same things that you are right now. So if you're in our social events and you see people wearing a mask or you see people that are doing things that are different than you, do not question them. Just interact with them like any other human being. Take care of yourself and others, which is number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not kidding about, we will support you through that. It is so much easier if you let us know that we need to cancel a show, because we can work quickly. We know that website. All it takes is this is what's happening, and we move it on your behalf. So we are on your team. We will make that work. The next thing up, we have guide. I want to do a quick Q&A. I know we didn't have it in our agenda. I think this is a good time to do a quick Q&A. So if you have a question about all the things we've just covered, if you could hold off on things that maybe you have but we haven't started talking about yet, because likely we will get to it. And then if not, you can do it at the end. But if you have a question, raise your hand, and then when you're called on, say your name and your show, because start marketing your show now. That way it's in people's minds when they go to buy tickets. Okay, I'm going to try to see hands here. Yes, Rebecca.
Hey there. Rebecca O'Brien, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So what happens if I would have, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But what happens if I have to cancel a show and my venue doesn't have any available time to do another show?
That's a great question. I'm going to repeat questions just so y'all know for the live stream, that because we have these little mics, and then they can hear the question. So what happens if you do have to cancel a show because of COVID and there's no empty slots? So what happened last year, and this is going to be an individual, slow down, thank you, on an individual basis, but if there are no availabilities, what happened last year is they went in, because there's encores, and we'll talk more about that later, but venues will open up alternative options, and so there's a lot of wiggle room in a lot of different ways. I think the key is just the earlier you bring up an issue, the better it can get resolved. But there's definitely, yeah, of course, definitely more wiggle room than meets the eye in this moment. Any other question? Yes.
We follow LA County guidelines and their recommendation. So after 5 days, if you test negative on an antigen test, which is not an at-home test, and are symptom-free, you're good to go. And then if you still don't have that, then after 10 days, if you're no longer symptomatic but are still testing positive, after 10 days, it is said that you have shed that viral load. That being said, read up on what it needs to be for your production, keep in communication with us, because, yeah, it's exactly what LA County guidelines are. So
we've really become health experts in the last 2 years.
So many town halls I've sat on.
And just for anyone who doesn't know, we took over the festival in 2021, right before the first COVID festival. What a fun time to learn how to run a festival, Anyway, I digress. Any more questions?
Basically, if you test positive for COVID, you don't have to know everything. We know so much. And your venues actually know so much because they've been running productions throughout this process. And so really rely on your venue, rely on us, and we'll help you through everything. And if you feel sick, stay home. This is not the time for you to be going out and pushing your body. It shouldn't be any time, but especially now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's jump into the big question that I think is probably on all of our minds. I know it's on the staff's minds because that's our big deadline too. The printed guide, that is coming up, y'all. Kevin seems more excited about it than I am. He's like, yay, and I'm like, ugh. It's a big week for all of us. So the printed guide, why is it important? Because we keep I think we've mentioned it almost every newsletter. The April 20th is the deadline for printed guide, but you can participate after, and of course you can. You do not have to be in the printed guide in order to be a part of the 2023 Hollywood Fringe Festival. But why not? Like, why, if you're going to sign up, try to make sure you get that extra marketing because it's important. And we're going to talk about why it's important right now. It's show descriptions. It's basically going to be 100 pages of how to fringe. That includes your show descriptions, your show times. There's a daily schedule in the guide. A lot of people, because remember, if you're new, there's 13 years of fringe, which means there's 13 years of audience members. And a lot of them decide what to see at Fringe from the printed guide. They pick one up at Fringe Central, and then they plan their day based on that daily schedule in the back. There's also a handy map in the guide to make sure people can navigate from venue to venue, right? We have, I think last I counted was 18 spaces that have Fringe shows in them this year. And so there's a map to make sure audiences can get around to all of the different spaces and things like that. We print and distribute thousands of them in Hollywood. Hollywood Fringe staff takes them to bars. Thank you for the slowdown reminder. We take them to bars, restaurants, hotels, community spaces, visitor tourist locations. We get them out everywhere. So that's going to be an opportunity to gain an audience of strangers, essentially, people that maybe you wouldn't otherwise connect with through your own network or the Hollywood Fringe network. This is going to be out into the ethers a little more. So that's some guaranteed exposure for your show. And so why not get that, right? And you still have a few days, so I highly recommend if you're still on the fence, but are likely going to participate, get your ass in gear and try to make sure you can get it into the printed guide. So what are the two major things that really have to happen for your show to be in that printed guide by April 20th? You have to register your show. Has anyone here not registered yet? Hopefully most people have. Okay, that's okay. There's still time. Yeah, there is still time, and the registration part is pretty quick. And I'll note, if you haven't registered, the sooner you do that, the sooner you have my eyes on your show. If I don't have you in my system, I can't send you an email that's like, weird, you're registered, but you don't have a venue yet, which is something that's going to be coming soon for those of you that do not have a venue. So know that that's coming. So yes, register your project, pay and complete that process. And then an official HFF venue needs to be booked. That is a venue within the Hollywood Fringe zone. You can see all of the venues that are currently already registered that are going to be a lot easier to book, especially last minute, on the venues tab of our website or hollywoodfringe.org/venues. So those two things are crucial. I cannot put your show into the guide without telling people where it's going to be. So you want to make sure you have a venue booked and that your venue has inputted your schedule. With that, know that I am working with venues closely over the next 10 days to make sure that we're in constant communication. If there are any venues here, they can speak to it. There's Quinn, right? Like we talk constantly, all of the venues and Hollywood Fringe staff, to make sure that we want you to get into that guide. So if you're coming in on April 20th and almost closing a deal, there's a real chance you're going to make it into the guide because we're all communicating. The key is to just get going and get all of this in as soon as humanly possible, because we cannot promise that you'll make it in unless all of these things are done by April 20th. Deal? Deal. Okay. Well, we'd really try, but I don't want to make promises. Okay, so after you've done those two things, yay, big sigh of relief, right? Beyond that, you want to make sure all of your. I lost my place, y'all. Nope, I found it. Okay, so remember, you can expect emails if you were not done with this process. You can expect emails from Fringe to remind you, sometimes it's you have a venue booked and scheduled, but you haven't registered. That's the easy part. So you're gonna get a lot of information about that coming up. Okay, guide proof. This is the next piece of the puzzle. So you've done those two things. That means you are going to make it into that printed guide. But let's make sure what you want to go in goes into the printed guide. That is your guide proof. In your admin tab, hopefully you've all started to get to know your project pages a little. There's a guide proof tab on your admin page, and that will show you exactly what will make it into the printed guide. You're going to want to look that over closely, and that is the exact reason for 3 emails going out this week, to make sure that you are looking over that guide proof.
And if you don't know where it is, do not worry. Our emails will walk you through it. So we're kind of going through it verbally right now, but our emails will be step by step so that you can check it off as you're going through. So make sure that you're registered so that you get our participant emails, or else you won't get the step by step stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And those things, so just to kind of have them in your brain, because I recommend going home tonight and starting to play around and get to know things, because you're going to want to make sure by April 20th your title is correct. Shockingly enough, that one gets missed more than anything. And I'm right, because you're so confident and I don't have to double check my title. You go through all of the other little pieces, and then we send out a guide proof, and you're like, what the? That was not much the title of my show. I changed it a month ago, but you didn't put it in the site. So check the title. Check the company. That can be your theater company. That can be your name if you were a solo show sans company. It can be a company that you create tomorrow that you're going to start using an LLC later. It can be anything you want. But that does go to print, so have eyes on that. Runtime will be included in the printed guide. Please, please, please give that extra eyes. Runtime is vitally important at Fringe. If your show goes over, that screws over every single show after you. And there's a real chance if your show starts to go over, your venue will lights up, because they have 7 other, shows coming in that they can't screw over everyone because your show went over. If that runtime is not correct, when you look at that guide proof, email your venue. Your venue has control over that runtime for obvious reasons. If you can't just change it and then it messes up the whole schedule. So if your runtime is incorrect, email your venue immediately.
Runtime with cushion.
Runtime
with cushion.
Runtime.
If your show is 50
Runtime
minutes, you do not have a 50-minute show slot. If your show is 50 minutes, you do not have a 50-minute show slot. Yeah?
Yes. All right. All right, minimum age, another important one, and one that I feel like people kind of forget after the registration process. So what's the minimum age for your show? This is going to be in print, so think about this week. It goes to being appropriate for content, really, really do the right thing here, y'all. You don't want to I don't want, and you don't want, a bunch of emails from pissed off parents because their 9-year-old went and saw a show that was wildly inappropriate for them, right? So please make sure you're being very considerate about your content. And if your show is at 3 clubs, your show is 21 plus, period. It is a bar. Audience members will not be allowed into that space.
Also, if you're like, oh, my little sister wants to go see it, so I'll put it as 8 years old, but your show's not for 8-year-olds, it's not being enforced, other than the 21 plus. So, like, just put it as 18 plus and then have your 8-year-old go. You know, like, be honest with your audience, because that number is for people who don't know you. That number is for people who don't know your show. So if you have, like, some adult content, like 16 plus, 18 plus, please really consider who's reading that age description and choosing their show. Because when they see 8 plus, they're thinking, oh, this is targeted for children.
Yes.
And if your show's not targeted for children, do not put that.
Because also, children aren't buying tickets, right? They're not the ones you're beholden to as far as getting tickets sold and making money. It's the parents. So even 16 plus, there's very few 16-year-olds that are necessarily booking Hollywood Fringe shows.
And they're going to ask for a refund. They are.
And we will give it if it was inappropriate. So, yes, please, please, please pay attention to that one. Next up is general ticket prices. We're going to talk a lot about tickets in just a moment, but the general ticket price is going to be what goes into the printed guide. So there's general, there's community, and then there's participants. Those are the 3 levels. But the general, sorry, I knew it was in my brain holder. The general price, we're fine. The general price is what you want to pay attention to right now for guide proof. If that varies, it'll be performance by performance. So if that number varies, if your Friday night show is more expensive than your Tuesday night show, there will be a range in the printed guide. It'll say $15 to $25, etc. So look at your general price in each individual performance.
The average ticket price at Hollywood Fringe is $10. $10. That was the average sold ticket last year. $10. Less for streaming, more for big ensembles, more for big musicals, immersive 101 expensive things. I will say that if you're a solo show, it's usually more in that range. If you're an ensemble show, $15 is pretty appropriate. It's something that happens. Anything more than that, know that you're going to discount for community to get people in seats. Because other people that aren't Hollywood Fringe producers might be like, totally fine. Because they're used to paying a lot of money at different theater companies. And if you have a lot of people who are coming from outside the Fringe community and you can fill those seats, do it. Make that money. And then make sure that you're also reserving some of those seats for those comp swaps for your community.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll talk a lot about that in just a minute, because now it's time to start thinking about tickets, which is wild. Category, that's another one. And I'm going to hit this one hard too. Category is likely another thing you haven't really looked at since the registration process. That is included, that is a part of your printed guide, because that is the section we put it in. So that's a pretty big one. It's also how it's searched on the website and how you are considered for awards. So I want you to maybe give it at least 20 minutes of your time in the next few days and think about where your show really fits. There is still time to change it before it goes to print. I'm going to just say it flat out. If you are a solo show, you do not have to do solo show category. There are so many other categories that are likely more fitting to an audience experience. If they're looking for a comedy, if they're looking for a musical and opera, if they're looking for a dance and physical theater piece, think about these other categories that might bring audiences to your show. And hint, hint, the solo category is the largest category at Fringe. Awards are harder to get in that category. So just, file that away, consider that.
Go to hollywoodfringe.org/annual report and look at what where the categories laid out last year. What percentage was where, and make some educated guesses as to where you want. If you're like that kind of competitive, analytical person like I am, literally the information is there. hollywoodfringe.org/annual report, which is also where we put our finances. So if you're like, oh, people should give money to Hollywood Fringe, I wonder where they put it. We tell you, and give us money.
We're working on our pitch. But yes, please do. I'm so sick of going to a show and knowing that's dance and physical theater. Why is it solo? And it happens every year. So please consider it.
But also don't award hack and put your show in a category that doesn't make sense, because people are not going to vote for you for that category too. Like, know that, like, our voters are smart. And so, like, if it's not appropriate for you to be in a different category, don't do it.
Yeah. Last thing is schedule. That's going to be a big one because the schedule goes into the printed guide. So make sure you're double checking your schedule. The venue, as you've probably already seen if you've started to work with a venue, makes that schedule. So if there are any issues with your schedule, check in with your venue to make those adjustments. So with the guide proof, a hot tip, as you want to edit or update any of these items we just listed, if you go to that guide proof tab, there are easy links to let you go directly to the pages where you can edit all of those pieces. We try to make it super easy. Just on one page, it'll take you directly to the space that's going to let you update and edit. Please triple check these. I'm going to keep saying it. We do not have the ability to spell check hundreds of short descriptions. It won't happen. So make sure you are double checking your descriptions, your title, send it to a friend, send it to another participant, maybe bring it to office hours on Wednesday and have a buddy, look at yours and you look at theirs, just to give it extra eyes. Ellen and I do this literally daily at this point because we're all exhausted. Every single person in this room is overwhelmed and exhausted. We have taken on a huge task. So use each other, lean on each other. I don't think a single email would go out correct if Ellen and I weren't looking over things that we've done.
And then because we're at like 30% capacity, we now have to bring on 2 other people who are at 30% capacity to get to 120. It's just like literally rely on your community right now because you will be so grateful that you did for these like little things. It can be your partner, it can be your sister, it can be your neighbor that you hang out with every day. Like these are easy lists that you can start relying on people for, and that's what you should be doing right now. You should start to figure out who are your people that you can rely on as you go into this journey, because you're going to need more than just your cast and crew to make it through June. Just being honest.
Yeah, 100%. So that's the guide. And again, we're going to send out emails. So don't worry. There's more information about this coming to you in print form. I'm going to take a break. All right. I think I'm talking slower. I mean, not that I deserve huge props here, but I think it's slower than last town hall. Maybe a little bit. So let's talk printed guide ads. That is another deadline, April 20th. So in the printed guide, there is only words. Your show, all of the things about your show are in word form. If you want photographic representation of your show, which we all know is an ideal option when advertising or marketing is concerned, you'll want to make sure to buy that guide ad by April 20th. I will note if you are maybe you're getting artwork finished right now, it'll be done on April 22nd. Shoot us an email. We can likely give you a little bit of wiggle room on artwork for the guide ad, but you're going to want to buy the space and then email us right away so we know that where to save space and to make sure that it doesn't go to print without that. So April 20th, but email us if you need a little extra time. Included in the registration, again, is all of the words. The ads are not included, but you do get 50% off as a registered participant. So that means ads are starting at $250 for registered participants. That is the quarter page ad. We do quarter, half, full, and you can find those at hollywoodfringe.org/market. Market? Yes. Marketplace. Market.
Wait, for the templates?
Ads. No, for
to
the
buy
ads. Yeah.
market.
But yeah, to buy. And then the templates, so we try to make it easy because we know that not every artist or producer is tech savvy or design savvy. So we have templates available at hollywoodfringe.org/ads for Canva, for Photoshop, and for Illustrator. And as somebody who is not tech savvy at all, Canva is a dreamboat of a program. Ellen and I now run social media, and I'd never used design or anything like that before. And thanks to Canva, I don't look like a total asshole. So Canva is genius if you are looking to create an ad but just don't have the experience. I recommend playing around on Canva. It'll make it very easy for you. Online ads can be purchased at any time. So this is just the print ad deadline we are talking about. Online ads you could purchase in July if you wanted to. So there's no cutoff there. On April 21st, we will also run an auction. So if you have purchased an ad by April 20th, you will have the opportunity to bid on some of the more premium spots in the guide. That means the inside covers and the centerfold. So April 21st, if you have purchased an ad, you will get an email giving you the opportunity to bid an auction. And if whatever you bid, the amount you've already paid in an ad will be taken out of that bid. So say, you end up spending $800 for the inside cover, we're going to take whatever the original ad price you came out of that. So you'll only owe less than that, because math. That was a lot. Should we do Q&A?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do ad Q&A.
Yes.
I know you're going to email us and tell us about it, but I did look online for like the online advertisement as opposed to the materialistic. We did click it, and it's just written words, right? No photos for the online.
For the online ads, the question is there a photo available you can upload photos as well. So there's words and then there's the photo that it's attached to it. And then the specs are inside of that like uploader too. So when you click on the part to like upload your file, it'll tell you the demo, like what the like pixels by pixels, what it should be. Cool. Let's look at this. If it doesn't happen, sometimes things break on our website. I'm just going to be like completely clear and say that anything like that, email us at support, and then we can walk you through it and see if it's a glitch, or if not, then we can help you maybe after this take a look and see how to upload it.
I brought my computer, so I'll be around at the mixer afterward, which, I'm going to mention, just so we don't forget later, stay after. We're going to be at the Hudson Coffee Shop. They're doing 10% off for anyone from Fringe if you want to buy a coffee after, but I brought my laptop in case anyone's like, where do I register, or where is the guide proof, or how do I upload a picture on an ad? So no, we're going to have questions for like individual, or time for individual questions in that way at the coffee shop.
Good to know. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah.
Rachel Winfrey with Inappropriate.
Love it.
That's the name of the show. I know there's a printed guide. Is there a online guide?
We have two things. So we have after this beautiful guide is designed, we put it online, and it's like a flip through that you can use online. This is our last year's guide. If you're like, what does it look like? It looks like this. And we already have our new design posted. So if you're like that kind of person that freaks out over graphics, we have it on our Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, so we're having this like physical guide that gets put online at /guide hollywoodfringe.org/guide. So it'll be there. And then we also have the iPhone app. So unfortunately, Android users, I'm so sorry. Our developer has not been able to make it happen. Yet. It's coming. It's coming. We always say that, but probably next year.
There's actual real chance because we now have someone on the team who is a Android developer pro. So there's an actual real chance that we're not just spewing hopeful lies.
But we do have an iPhone app. So the iPhone app is going to be able to be where you can purchase. It's like the guide, but on an app and searchable. It's like the guide and the website had a baby. It is.
When was the last time you looked at our iPhone app?
Like a year ago.
So I bought an ad in the guide. Will that ad be online?
In the printed guide that we make digitally, yes. So it'll be exactly what the guide is. It'll just be digital, and you can flip through it digitally.
There's not an additional cost?
Nope. Wow, that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, no, I decided it wasn't important. Go ahead.
Me too. I'm Donnie Jarman, finished to avoiding a eulogy. Two quick questions. Runtime question. We have a 90-minute. We have a 90-minute time slot.
Yeah.
We have a full-length play, 6 scenes, 2 characters. The scene changes are pretty much lights up, lights down, very quick. What would you recommend as a runtime for that?
Have you timed it?
Yeah, and I'm trying to cut down as much as I can, but what would you recommend is a comfortable runtime for a 90-minute time slot?
I think it just so depends on like what type of I think that would be great. That would be like a good number, but I think it so depends on how your team is and how many people are involved. The more people that are involved, the harder it is going to be to start on time, just because there's so many more things that can happen. There's so many more traffic jams. There's so many more babysitters being late. There's so many more things that happen in our lives So I think it just depends on that. I also would recommend, like, a lot of people, like, one of the biggest tips that I think Fringers give is, like, meet 30 minutes before your show is outside. Do your little warm up on the street. People love it. Then you can hand out postcards while you're doing your warm up, and people will be like, oh, cool. People love it, I swear. And then you can have all your stuff ready to run into the theater and have that quick load in, load out, so that you're not worrying about people being late. So that's, like, a great tip. But yeah, I think it just depends on, like, are you expecting your audience to be late? Because truthfully, like, if you want to hold for audience, that's you building that into your time. If you want to just start straight, then you're good.
And that's assuming the venue will allow audience late seating. So check with your venue as well.
Yeah.
Make sure you know their policy on late seating. Yeah, but otherwise that's great advice. And know that, like, if there's nothing weird about it during Fringe to see an entire theater troupe outside of a theater. You're going to see crowds of people in front of the venue spaces here in Hollywood. So it's part of the fun, arguably. It's the pre-party, you know, before you go in and perform, and then you go to the after party at Fringe Central, which I'm jumping ahead. We'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
But I didn't hear what they were, the difference between general ticket, community ticket, and participant.
oh yes, oh I think
we're gonna
we're
cover
about to
that
go
in
through
in
that.
tickets, yeah.
Yeah. It was a teaser.
Yeah.
I have my own question, but also a follow-up question about that. Hi, Smith Bowling. I'm with, this was never supposed to be a one-woman show. And my follow-up question about that, as far as the time slot versus the run time, and this might be a venue-specific thing, but do you know if it's scheduled based off of the time slot that you booked or off of the run time of your show?
It's what you booked. So what you booked is going to be, like, that's key. Like, if you booked a 90-minute slot, like, that's the time you have in that theater, and you can't add to it. But you can absolutely take away from it. Like, nobody's gonna be upset that they left they saw a show was in the Fringe Guide at 75 minutes and it went out at 70. They're gonna be like, great, more time to go get my coffee before I go to my next show. You know, so, like, always just what I was meaning by that is, like, think about being early. Think about how you can come at it from, like, a reviewer standpoint or an awards judge or another artist at the festival who's trying to jam in as many shows as possible. And to be quite frank, a lot of our audience members, it was something like 5,000 of the people that bought tickets last year bought more than one, and then, like, an insane amount more than five.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of people buy, like, 10, like, and it's really common that most people will buy more than one show, and then it's even more common that people will buy more than five, right?
Yeah.
Or, like, comparatively, percentage-wise.
And you're not going to get a happy press review if the press person misses their next show because your show ran late, or you're maybe going to miss out on an award opportunity because an award judge had to leave your show early because it wasn't done yet.
Or they're going to walk right in front of the most beautiful moment of your show that you don't want interrupted because they need to leave. You know what I mean? Like, just think about, like, when I meant that, I just meant, like, think about the people that you have on your team, realize their capacities, and plan around it, you know?
Like, Ellen is always 10 minutes late. We planned for that, and when we set things up.
Always. I live in Altadena. It's really far. Like, think about it. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, if you live in Hollywood, you're going to have a lot easier in a time than if you live in North Hollywood. Like, us amazing people that live far, start planning ahead.
100.
Yeah.
Totally up to you. But overall what we see and what we recommend is hit them twice. Because it depends. Somebody might, they'll just remember it and come back a week later and go, oh, I saw that angel costume. I need to see that show. So I recommend putting in your times, your dates, your venue, and I'll have the guide here if people want to take a look at it after to see what shows have done in the past. Or you could go to hollywoodfringe.org/guide. Where
it's still live from last year.
Actually, it's 2023 because for grant submissions, it is guide still, never mind. So hollywoodfringe.org/guide to see what people have done in the past. But I think having information on there is not a bad idea. And
QR codes are so big now, guys. And they're free to generate online. So if you're like, I can't put in that much information, but you know that your audience is going to be a tech-savvy audience, which also you want to remember if you're going to use QR codes, it should be people who are used to using QR codes. Like, who's your target audience? how tech savvy are people that you're kind of trying to get to, because that's also going to make it clear how you're going to market your show. Like if your show is for if it's honestly, if your general audience is kind of like me and Lois, like we're kind of like half tech savvy, but then like your young Gen Z friends, like they kind of got it. Like they don't need as much information. So just like start to think about like what your target audience needs and start putting that into your marketing materials. And you can watch our marketing panel all about how to suss that out.
There's a question from the
Oh,
Yeah, two things. First is make sure we're repeating the audience questions so they can hear them. And the other question was, do you think that do you recommend writing a note on ticket pages about being on time and parking, seating, all of that kind of stuff, like sharing information?
yeah. Can you repeat the question?
Great event. Would you guys recommend writing a note on the ticket page about being on time, parking, etc.?
Absolutely. So the question was, do you recommend writing about like being on time, parking info, that sort of thing? Absolutely. So you are a part of this festival and you're also self-producing your work. So imagine that you're not a part of the festival and put as much information on your project page as possible, because there's going to be part of your audiences that are not into the framework of Fringe and might not think about how terrible parking is here around June. It's terrible. Plan ahead. Take public transportation. And start to put that stuff into your marketing as well so that people can plan ahead and don't freak out, So again, think about your audience, who you're marketing to, and what sort of things they're going to need to know.
And we also set you up for success there. Like we have those auto emails that happen when tickets are purchased, and those things go in that as well to make sure that people are kind of included into the Fringe experience from the get-go.
But people don't read. So
if you say it, we say it, and someone else says it, they're bound to catch some of it.
So remember, people don't read, but they will listen to you because they are there for you, right? You're the individual, you're the producer. So as much as you can put out personally, it's just going to reiterate the bigger picture.
Miguel Perez, our show is called Oleana. Back to the realm of digital guides and whatnot. Do you offer any guidance or utility regarding digital show programs?
No. But I mean, I've seen people do them. Like, it's definitely a thing where people will have like a QR code on a stand at the front for a digital program versus one in person. We don't have any templates or anything like that. But I think if you just use your normal, what you would program that you would find a template online. I see that all the time, and then people will definitely have digital. Most people have their phones with them, know how to scan a QR code. I think that's a great idea. Save on some paper.
You can also link it in your project page, so it can be something you include, or maybe in the email that you send afterward, things like that. Great question. Do we have maybe one more question, just so we have a lot to get to, and it's already 3:15. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'll be fast. Hi, I'm Christian AC. My show is Prince Harry live at Coachella. A new musical. What is your policy about leaving postcards? Like, I saw there are postcards out there for shows. Like, is that allowed?
We will talk about that in just a few minutes. So we're gonna keep going because we're gonna cover a lot of this, and we're gonna jam through it, and then we're gonna have another break for questions. 2 more breaks for questions.
Okay, let's do promotion and networking. So we're already getting to it. Okay, y'all. So press, that's a big thing coming up. Post your press releases. There's a tab on your admin page. It's quite handy. It's there already for you where you can upload your press release. That'll show up on your news feed, so that'll be public, and press will look at those. So do yourself the service of having everything available to press that is interested in seeing your work. Check out the marketing and press article on the Supportal, or just go to that participant packet where we have a whole section on press and marketing. That'll include tips on how to write your press release. If press releases are new to you, we try to make sure you have the information to help you write your first one. There's also an example press release, so you have something to refer to. There's also a recommended list of publications to reach out to. That is something we do not share in emails. It's just not something that is an industry standard, but Google these publications. Most of it is available publicly, so just start to build your press list and then send out your press release. we manage credentials for the Hollywood Fringe Press. So we are doing kind of our own research to get people into the festival. So we'll have probably about 30 to 40 registered press people at the festival, and we introduce them to the festival. It is your job to make them notice you. So we'll help if they're looking for a comedy. We'll make sure they know how to find the comedy section and things like that. But you have to do your part in getting noticed and getting that word of mouth too, because we're 13 years in. A lot of press know each other or go to the same spots. They end up at Fringe Central, and so they're going to hear about the shows to see. Additionally, keep on your email, because the press has the ability through the site to request a comp. You do not have to grant them a comp. That is entirely up to you, but that will come through your participant email. So the primary producer email, sorry. So make sure you are keeping an eye on that, because if you wanted press there and you missed that email, that's not going to be great. So make sure you're keeping eyes on that in May and June. And a link will be in that email too. We make it easy. So you get an email and it gives you a link from Fringe that says, here's how you give them a comp. All one-stop shop, super easy. With press, so send out that, like, create the list with the list that we provide to help you build that list. When you send that out, send it out, but don't overwhelm. You know, there's a difference between making sure people know that your show is there and how great it is, and bugging them to the point where they're like, I swear to God, if I see them in person, I'm going to run. That's not what you want. So please don't do that to press, because that won't do anyone any favors. And also think about how to reach out of the theater world too. Theater is not a notable market for press in general, right? I wish I could say otherwise, but there's just not going to be a ton of press for theater in general in Los Angeles. So think about other press outlets. If your show is about food, maybe reach out to a food blogger, reach out to a food TikToker. Is that how you say the influencer? Okay, showing my age. But so think about ways to get different kinds of press to your event that will potentially be even a larger audience, because you're not even competing with other theater audiences. Now you have your own world of food bloggers, and all of the foodies are coming to your show. So think about that as well. So that's press. Then we have reviews. This is free and organic marketing. Use it. This will be helpful in every stage of your journey. So press will review on their outlets or their publications usually. They will not as often write reviews on the website. Know that certified reviews are from people that we at Fringe can confirm actually saw your show. So as much like your mom's review about the show that she hasn't seen will show up, but it's not going to show up with any sort of credentials. So there'll be a check mark under reviews that we can say, yep, they bought a ticket, they saw the show, it's real.
But if your mom buys a ticket to your show and then writes a review, certified review. So you see how that works?
Tell mom. Encourage your audiences to leave reviews. Make it a part of your closing speech, especially during previews, because that's going to be a great time to build that word of mouth and start to get pull quotes, because you can use those for the rest of the festival to advertise how great your show is and by someone else saying it. So that's always good. Or send an email. Fringe will automatically send a post-show email for every one of your shows. The audience will get a, thanks for coming to this show at Hollywood Fringe. Please go to this page to leave that show a review. So we send that out, but they don't know us. That's not a personal email. We highly recommend sending out personal thank you emails to your audiences and including a link to send a review as well.
It's so important that you get reviews, though. I think it's really important because you're going to be able to use those pull quotes for your marketing for the rest of the festival. So if you get reviews during previews, you get to use those beautiful words that likely another artist that you respect in the festival zone wrote about you, and vice versa. So I think if you're going to shows during previews, you need to make sure you're writing reviews of those shows, because it's just that community ethos that kind of brings it back, and everybody gets to be like, oh my goodness, Lois said this thing about me. I'm going to put that on my next social post. You know, like, it's so good, and it helps legitimize your work. It helps bring things. It helps you sell your work to the next festival that you're going to do, to the next stage, to the awards that are happening, to the industry. It's important.
Everywhere.
Reviews.
Right. To that note, though, Fringe staff will not review, unfortunately. I feel like I want to get that downer out of the way. Fringe, we love all of our babies the same. All of our shows are equally amazing, and so we make it a point to not write reviews or tell people how great your show is. We'll point people to, oh, you're looking for a comedy? There's a comedy happening right now at Hudson Theaters. This is the name of the show. That's the kind of word of mouth we'll give, but we don't want to ever interfere with your journey or, because we talk about your show, now you win awards and then everyone's mad at everybody. So know that is not the case. But you can also turn off reviews. Know that if you were in a workshop stage, if you are just doing this for the hell, like you just want to enjoy the artistry and want to play, then you can turn off reviews and not take feedback. That is entirely your choice. But no, it's all or nothing. You either accept all reviews or you accept no reviews. So make that call. And that said, 90% of them are good. We have a kind, wonderful community. We even set you up for success in the way we kind of prompt reviews to be written. So the majority are going to be amazing and wonderful. But worst case scenario, if a review breaks our code of conduct, it is personal in nature. It is like hateful versus critical. We will take that down. So please, if you have a review that you think fits into that category, email support@hollywoodfringe.org. And if it does, we will absolutely remove that. But that does not mean they did not like your show and they told you about it. We cannot, unfortunately, step in that place. So no, but if it is personal, goes against the code of conduct, we will absolutely remove that from the site.
In the age of social media, it's super important that you use social media for your show. It is something that people will see as a thing of legitimacy. If they see that there is an Instagram for your show, or they see that there is some sort of website, some sort of thing, something, that's why the Fringe page exists outside of selling tickets. It's your website. It's your descriptor. It is how people start to be like, okay, this is like a real thing. Because think about it this way, like you're like a new person in LA, or like maybe you're not, but you're like a really shy person, and then you're gonna go see the show and you can't find any information about it, your anxiety is going through the roof. But if you find the show and then you find like 10 articles about it, you find like the social media page for it, you find all this thing, you start to be able to put yourself in the seat of that, of like going to see that show, and it
in
makes
the seat of the show.
It does. Like you start to like visualize it. I'm serious. Like you have to be able to get your audience member to visualize being in your show. That's the whole point of social media. That's the whole point of marketing, is that you want a ticket buyer to visualize themselves there. And if they can't do that, they're not going to buy a ticket. So social media at Fringe, please use the hashtag HFF23. It helps everybody have that info together. Kevin, did you have a question? Oh, okay. We'll cover it at the next Q&A. So tag Hollywood Fringe whenever possible. Your post might get shared on our official accounts, and here are some tips on how to get your content shared. Post live stories from our promotional events or these types of events. Be like, I'm at this event. And then tag your show. We'll repost those things because it helps us build buzz around our events, and it helps remind people about them. Any auditions or artistic offerings or crew notices, those are types of things that we will try and repost whenever possible. But you have to tag Hollywood Fringe in those instances, or else we won't repost them to our stories. And I will say that Lois and I run social media. We do so much else. So there's so many times that we'll miss something or we won't get to it in time, and so be patient with us and know that like it is one of many different outlets, and that we're going to try and get to it if possible. We also will not, unfortunately, because there's so freaking many of you, which is so great, but we can't be like, look at this show, check out these tickets, like tickets are, like we're gonna be like, tickets are on sale, like we might do like a feature on comedy, or like these are the runway winners, like these sort of things that we can point to that are programmatically appropriate for us to repost, we will, including audition notices, crew notices, like I'm at this event, and that's pretty much it, you know? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be posting all of those things for yourself, because your audience is more than the Hollywood Fringe audience. It is your friends, it is your neighbors, it is the people that you meet around here, and then their audience becomes your audience. That is the point of making friendships, is that you share community, and then you build your audiences so that you can continue on this show run. Maybe do another run in Hollywood. Maybe do it somewhere else in LA. Maybe go somewhere else, and then you already have all these social media followers who legitimize your show when you go to a different state or a different town. So social media tips we've learned along the way from our social media guru, Bella, who runs our cabaret and also like has amazing tips on what to do for social. Used to run our social. Love her. Etiquette. Do not spam posts, at least not on Instagram and Facebook. Because the way Twitter works, using the same contents is not a bad thing, but it's a good idea to make as many unique posts as you can whenever you're using any social media platform, but especially on Instagram and Facebook. You don't want to just post your show poster over and over. It's boring. So what are you doing? Are you taking pictures? Like, we try and have our photographer, David, come to many different events and post pictures, and then we'll be able to post them on Facebook. For instance, our office hours, if you were there last week, we had photos. We'll post them on Facebook this week, and then you can take them and be like, look at me, networking, being really cool, and I look adorable. And people will be like, yeah, you do, you know? So start to do that.
Socializing by Ellen Denherger.
People love to see behind-the-scenes images and photos and videos, bloopers, fun insights into the process. Take a bunch of photos and videos at rehearsals. They will serve as documentation of your journey while also giving you loads of marketing content. If you've got multiple people in your cast or crew, get everyone involved on posting on their own social media accounts and then tagging the other members as well as the festival accounts so that it can just get shared and shared and shared. Because engagement, unfortunately, is key. Social media is like a vacuum. Like, you got to dive deep to get involved, okay? So you got to dive deep right now, y'all. Have fun with your content. If you genuinely enjoy creating your content, others will too. If you find it boring, others will too. Make sure that your name of your show is included in every post. It's kind of hard to remember sometimes, but you should probably get your name of your show. Like, Hollywood Fringe tries to make sure our little logo is on every single post. Even though it's kind of obvious that it's coming from Hollywood Fringe, it says at Hollywood Fringe at the top, it's still important because then they start to recognize our brand. Come up with engaging taglines. Remember the rule of 3. You want people to be able to kind of there's the rule of 3s and decorating and that kind of thing, where it's you want to kind of have these scaffolds of things. You know what I mean? Has anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, does anybody know what I'm saying? Where you want to make sure that you have a balanced list. So on your social media feed, you want to have a balanced look to things, where it's not super crazy, super minimal. You want to be able to kind of have some breathing room in your social media. The best way to grow any social media platform is to be active on that platform. So that means liking, commenting, sharing posts from the Fringe account, as well as posts from your fellow artists and those that you make friendships with. If your project or, be careful not to get too heavy into promoting your own project on another project's page or comment section, because that can draw attention away from your own project and make it look kind of slimy. It's it's the opposite of the intention that you're trying to have by engaging. So when you're engaging on other people's posts, try and uplift them. The most subtle way to do that, make sure you have a dedicated social media account for your show, which means that every time that you post, your name will be out there. And if it's just a one-off show or just for HFF 23, building a new account might not be worth it to you. So make sure that you're branding it with something else that you want to come out there, whether that's your name, you want people to start to think of you as a serious actor, then maybe don't make a show account. Maybe you want it to be, but then you want it to be the name that you want to be remembered by, not I don't know, the Chad Man or something. That's probably maybe you do. I don't know.
Chad
I'm trying to think of I don't know. I'm done with social media.
I'm going to add, just additionally, make it easy for your audience. The key is you don't want other people to have to work for it. So do the work on your end. For example, on Instagram, if you are posting about your show on stories, give a direct link to your project page when tickets are on sale. Make sure if you take away the hurdles for your audience, the more likely they are to come through for you. So make it easy. Links, links, links.
And then the last thing on social media, remember that you want to have people see your show multiple times before they buy a ticket. They're not going to see the post once and then buy a ticket. Usually, I think it was 7 or 8 times was the thing of, they did a study of how many times does it take for people to see something before they register in their brain and they decide to go. It's 7 or 8 times. So you want to make sure that your stuff is kind of out there in the ethers in 7 or 8 different ways. So whatever those 7 or 8 different ways is unique to you. Yours might be less online. Yours might be more emails that are direct emails from partners. It might be that type of thing, but you need 7 or 8 ways that you're putting your info out there, including postcards. Most people still print postcards. It's still a thing. You can also use a QR code if you want to save some trees, or even have people take a picture of a postcard at office hours. But your postcard is your business card. So think about it this way. It's that is not something that you just hand out to people. There are opportunities for you to put them out and in a way that people will come and look at them and actually decide to see your show from it. But most times at office hours, it's not about putting it down on a table. It's about using them as your business card so that people, when they go home, they're like, man, I talked to Lois and she was so cool. like, and like, you know, like they see that poster and they were reminded of you, and then they start to put it in together. So use your postcards like a business card. They can be a business card size. They can be a medium size. We're switching our interpreters. So I'm going to pause. No, I'm good.
We're this awkward all the time. It's not just right
Yeah.
now.
Unfortunately, very awkward people, or fortunately, very awkward people are fun to be around.
Fringe
Printing.
day.
So you can print them in any size that you want. It doesn't, the only thing that you really need to do is make sure that you include the Hollywood Fringe logo. You're like, where do I find it? hollywoodfringe.org/branding.
Also available in the participant packet. Weird.
That's where you're going to find our logo, and you're going to be like, "Ooh, great!" Plop it into your marketing. You're good to go. You need to have that logo there if you want to drop it off at Fringe Central, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So there's good discounts also for printing in the participant packet. Arnold the printer is one of them. There's also online printing, like whatever you need to do to print something. Some people print it at home. Like just think about like what is going to be the best idea for you with your show. Like remember, what do you want to budget towards? Because some people are going to really want that like crisp, perfect card because a part of their show is the aesthetic. Right? Like a part of what you're marketing is your aesthetic. And then some people are like, no, it's just a dorky little comedy show, which means that I can have a little dinosaur and attached to it is a QR code. That's up to you. What is your show? What is the vibe you're giving off? Postcards can be dropped off at office hours starting next week, and we'll keep them and we'll put them up at our spring preview. We're having this like press and industry event that we're doing a little preview to get them interested in coming to see shows at the festival. It's really just like, and we're having so many cabarets that we're going to talk about in just a second and how to get involved in them. So don't worry if you're not involved in that one. We have stuff for you. But if you want your postcards to be at that event, bring a stack to office hours and we will put them out for you at that event so that they can go pick up postcards from all the shows that are at the festival. 25 would be good, I think, to start out. So at least 25. That is in May, so you can bring them to any office hours before May 6th. 5th.
Yes.
5th. May 5th. Sorry, my partner's birthday is May 6th, so I always get it mixed up.
Happy almost birthday, Shane.
So, we will also allow posters this year to be dropped off at Fringe Central during previews. So if you have a poster for your show, we'll put them up on a wall. They need to have the Hollywood Fringe logo on them, and we'll post those hours. It'll be just when Fringe Central is open. You can come. We'll put it on the wall. And beautiful wall of posters of all the shows that are happening. So look. No, I just don't make it like a poster, like not like a movie poster. Just like an 11 by 17 is good. Or smaller, 8.5 by 14, 8.5 by 11. Pretty much any of those. If you want to print it at home, good.
Love it.
Look at a participant email on Monday about more ways that you can promote your show at Fringe Central, including promotional gifts, which I'll talk about in a second. But first, a couple of postcard rules. Never cover up other flyers. Leave them laying around at office hours. Before you leave office hours, make sure you pick up all your postcards. Don't be a jerk. It's us that cleans it up. And you know where those go? Trash can. Sorry.
I live in a studio apartment, not enough room for postcards.
Yeah, so
like,
we can't keep them for
masses.
you. Make sure that whatever you bring into event spaces, it's not our house. And if it was, it's not yours. You gotta be responsible for your stuff, you know. And it's not good marketing. That being said, there will be certain locations or certain places where they'll be like, yeah, put them there, and we'll keep them out all year. That will be clear to you. Make sure that it's clear to you before it is, and always ask permission. Do not poster on public buildings without consent. Jeez, guys, do not put them on the telephone poles without consent.
We get in trouble. Our logo's on there too. Remember that.
We can get in real trouble and get fines and stuff. Let's not do that. Be smart, be intentional. There are all of our venues are really good about having spots for postcards and posters. All of our community partners that are very actively involved in the Fringe, bars or places like that, they have a space for it. Ask permission before you put them down, because sometimes they might have rules. Sometimes it might be like, oh, I'm so sorry, this is only for this program that I support, or this kind of thing, or this kind of LGBT Center Coffee Shop might be it's only for queer shows, or it might be for something specific. Usually it's not. Usually they'll allow you to put your stuff down, and when you ask, they're like, oh, I can't believe you asked. Thank you so much. Of course, put it down. So ask. Great. As far as other little promotional gifts, they're always a hit. Last year, there were like these little piggies that were handed out, and my cat still plays with them. Like, I have like 2 of them, and she plays with them every day, and they're so cute, and I keep them. So, like, little promotional things actually can be really effective, but you've got to make sure that they're useful. I have like underwear from a show from last year.
We both do.
A terrible show for terrible people. Shout out. Made underwear that I have, or like T-shirts from like No Matter What the musical, or like these types of things. I wear them. I have them. Like, please, like, give them out to people. Use them effectively, though. Don't like throw them in a place like this is your hard-earned money. This is like we know how hard earned your cash is at this level. Y'all are not rolling in it. So be intentional with what you make, and it will be effective. Remember to make your show merch not the focus of your promo, as it can get quite expensive. Do something cute, cheap, and useful. And you don't want to create more trash for the environment. So make sure that you're like kind of thinking about that as it goes through. We've had like branded condoms and lube from a sex show, or like little dinosaurs from a prehistoric show. You can literally do whatever the fuck you want, as long as it's legal. Okay, legal is key, y'all. If you do,
We have to say it.
we have to. It's legal. If you do end up using little promotional gifts and you want to drop them off to us at office hours, we will use them in VIP swag bags. So like for our like opening night party, or for any of these like industry events or things like that, we will include your little things inside of there if you want. So you can have like a little like stress ball, and then your postcards attached to it, and you want to drop off like 40 of them to us, like we'll take them. And we will give information on how to do that, and where to do that, and when, and how many in our emails coming up, which is why I'm not going to go into more detail. You've got to read it.
We are on fire at this point in the presentation.
Last but certainly not least for promo, if you want to make napkins, coasters, or cups, we'll use them at our bar. We are switching this year to 100% compostable cups, which is exciting. So maybe not. So maybe think about like environmental impact. So something we love is like branded coasters, branded napkins, especially napkins. Love it. And we'll use them in our social space. So like, please feel free to do that if that's like what you want to do, especially if your show revolves around drinking. Like, usually it works best for a show that like already kind of has that vibe. Again, choose what like your pathway is, and we'll try and help you make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we go into online ads? All right. So online ads, we talked about this. Ooh, I know, right? Well done. So those are still available. They will be available for till the end of time, quite frankly. They are sold at 50% off for registered participants. They are sold by impression. So keep that in mind. These are eyeballs on your ad. Like we've been talking about, it takes multiple eyes or multiple times to see something to have it stick in your brain. So that's how these impressions work. Remember that you can pause or restart your impressions as you wish. You have full control over that ad. You can also change it out if you get new branding or new images and you want to replace it. You can do that as well. You have full control over your online ad. We expect to get about 1 million hits during June on the website. So eyeballs are on this site, and the impressions do tend to move quickly because so many people are on the site. But those impressions are a great way to grab other people's audience. Ellen is going to see Kevin's show, but doesn't know anything about Fringe. But because she's buying a ticket to Kevin's show, she sees my show. And now she's like, well, I've got to see that. That looks amazing. So that's how these impressions are going to work in your favor. I'm going to talk a little about the participant packet, because I've learned today that not enough of you have read it.
I think it's really important that you know that you can turn your ads on and off for it. So I think it's really important, like, think about when you want them to be running. Like, that's how you use your money the most effectively. Like, I want them, like, I know that my types of people are late night people. Run them late nights, see what it's going. You can turn those impressions on and off, and they won't run out unless you're going through like think about it. If they're turned on May 1st, you're going to see it. A lot of people are going to see it. It's not a bad idea, but you are going to burn through them more quickly than if they're on a different day, right? Just because more people are hitting the site. So your like what you're paying for is how many times people see it. That's what impression means. Just like to make that clear, because I think people have had that question before.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so participant packet, we're going to talk about this, if nothing else, just to get you to look at it a little later today, because it is really exciting. So we said 60 pages of everything we're talking about today and more. All of the things that will make for a successful Fringe journey. HollywoodFringe.org / Yes! Woo! Right. Yes.
Participants.
It's also packed with discounts and opportunities. So this is not just our how-tos. I mean, yes, it can be a little boring, right? How to do a comp ticket or how to, use the flags on the website. But there's also discounts and opportunities from partners that we've developed relationships to provide you a cheaper producing opportunity. So use those. There's Arnold the printer. He provides discounted printing on postcards, posters. He also has been working with Fringe for years, so has put together package options that are specifically built for what you do. Which is different than a standalone run or things like that, right? So Arnold the Printer, we have the NoHoArtsDistrict.com, an amazing marketing platform that actually focuses on theater. We all know how rare that is these days, but they offer a special rate and special packages for Fringe marketing opportunities. So they'll work with you to help you get the marketing out about your show. There's LAFPI for female identifying producers. Join Fringe Femmes. This is a free opportunity. It's a kind of community within the community, a great support system, and great advertising through LAFPI as well. So please, Fringe Femmes, get on that.
That's the Los Angeles Female Playwrights Initiative. So LAFPI.
Yes. And in the participant packet with an easy link too. There's photography and video services if you're thinking about videoing your show or live streaming your show or getting photographs, which highly recommend. If you want proof, you can look back and go, what a fun time. But additionally, what's next? How are you going to show the next person that you're trying to get to book your show? How are you going to get to the next level? And this will help. For example, David Haverty has discounted options for his photography and videography services. There's multiple great, yes, but they're all discounted. These are professionals who work in the industry year round, but no, they have a special tie with Fringe, so they give Fringers a discount. So use these opportunities. There's also photography and consulting and publicity management through Combined Art Forms, which Matt and Bertha right over here. So if you're worried about press, if you're worried about how to get your show out there, these are wonderful consultants who can help you do that. So please check out the participant packet. Please don't make me beg. Look at that packet. I promise you, it'll be a better journey for you if you do. With that, let's talk about Fringe Run promotional opportunities coming up. This is going to be a teaser. I'm going to warn you now, there's no hard facts. We will release them when your brains are able to digest them. We kind of try to hold on to things that are going to be helpful to you right now, like guide proof ads, things like that. So we'll introduce these when it's time in the phase so that you can actually take advantage of the opportunity. But this year we have Fringe Cabaret that is back. We'll have submissions opening right around May 6th. So look for your participant newsletters for that. But we're going to have 3 late night cabarets. So open submissions. If you are doing Fringe, please make sure you apply. It's only limited time slots. So just make sure you hop on that when we send that email out. We'll have Runway. That'll take place at Fringe Central during previews weekend. That's a great place if you have really cool or imaginative costumes. This is a great time to really highlight your costume designer because that's a really special part of the process that I think often gets overlooked. So Fringe Runway is a way to celebrate the costumes in your show and the person who made those happen. There's also prizes.
I do want to say with Fringe Runway, because we have limited amounts of people that can apply, try to do it when your show costumes are unique or something that really can be competitive to win the top of the Fringe Runway. We have 3 awards that we give out, and then that's extra press for your show. But think about your intentionality with applying to that program, because some people will apply and it's just their street clothes, which is cool, but think about it's a lottery system. We actually lottery that one, so it's not first come, first serve, and we also don't curate it. So, when you're applying for that one, think, is my costume the type of costume that should be in here?
Yeah. Fair. And then there's Fringe TV. I'm going to kind of speed through these because, again, we're going to send this information out. But that's a great chance to kind of answer some prompts and get some marketing up on our social media. And we'll run that during previews weekend at Fringe Central as well. And drink sponsorships are back for $100. The Fringe will market your show through our bar. So it's a boozy marketing opportunity that includes a curated drink that is it's created especially for your show. So a one-of-a-kind drink plus marketing on our social, our newsletter, and on bar signage. So keep an eye out for that.
And you can do a mocktail. So
absolutely
if you're
can.
I want that opportunity, but I don't want to do booze, you can do a mocktail as well.
Yeah. And so all of this coming up, we'll go into detail in that participant packet. I'm going to skip because we are running out of time, y'all, and go into Fringe Central.
Great. Fringe Central is back. So Fringe Central is the pop-up social hub that we run during the festival. It's Fringe Cheers. Open during preview weekend for the first time. Woo!
Sorry.
So it'll run Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the festival. Previews through the end. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On those other days that we have shows, there are other community bars that need the business more than we need to be running an extra space. The weekends are where it gets crazy, and there needs to be extra space for people to hang out, which is why we open it up on weekends.
And free space. Like we want to make sure, because you are going to show, you're doing your show, and then maybe you're seeing 4 shows. We want you to have a space where you do not feel obligated to spend money, to spend time, because we know that's important. So you're not stuck in your car in between shows.
And we'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, except for the date of awards, because we'll be at awards. It'll be out.
TBD.
We'll
No. We're actually to be A. It is decided, just not announced.
So our Fringe Central is at 905 Cole, which is a short walk from Santa Monica Boulevard, and it is outdoors. So we're in like a parking lot situation that we kind of develop into like a beer garden-y type vibe. If you're like thinking about like what it looks like, it's got like cute lighting and a little photo opportunity and a little nice bar. Last year we had some cornhole going on. That was pretty fun. Competitions got pretty stiff.
So did the allergies.
Yeah, Lois got a full allergic reaction. Turns out she's allergic to corn dust. But so now they are bean bags. So yeah, it'll be a very chill, like hangout space. It's not like somewhere that you should expect like a raucous party. We have those at other spaces, like our opening night party and our closing night party. Those are our raucous parties. This is more just like a, let me just like be in community with my people. It is a full bar, and if you have a participant button, you will get happy hour prices throughout. So you will like get a discount, really good, cheap options for drinks there. We sometimes have a food truck, not always, so don't rely on it being the case.
But we'll have the food truck a lot more this year. So.
Great. Yeah. So just letting you know, like we make it a vibe. It's fun. Come hang out with us. Concierge will also be there. This is where we sell merch and where our Fringe box office is. So if you have folks that don't want to buy online, they can go to the Fringe box office at Fringe Central, and they can buy their tickets there. We'll also make sure that that's available at like opening night and that kind of thing for folks that. And we also have a phone number for our box office, and so you'll get all of that information so you can start promoting it as well.
Buying and selling.
Yeah. Oh, we should Q&A really quick?
I think we after
Yeah.
we're gonna have some questions. Okay. I feel like this is how most of our conversations go.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah, buying and selling tickets. So this is the big one, right? Good news though, there's articles in our participant packet about it and in our supportal. If you go to All About Fringe in the artists section, you're going to find information about all of this. But let's talk the basics. So 100% of ticket proceeds go to you. The Fringe does not take a cut. There is a small service fee attached to each ticket, and that's paid tickets. If it's a free ticket, there's no service fee because it's credit card based, right? So you're paying for the use of credit card, things like that. But that is on your audience. That is not on you. You get 100% of your ticket sales. At least 50% of your capacity must be sold on the Hollywood Fringe website. You can sell all of your capacity. You can sell every ticket through the Fringe website. But if you want to do a third party like Eventbrite or other ticketing platforms, you certainly can, but it can't be more than 50%. If you do choose to go that route, I implore you to pay attention to managing it, because you will need to actually change your capacity on the Fringe website if you're offering up tickets elsewhere, things like that. So just please, please, please keep that in mind. You do not want to oversell your house. That'd be a major bummer. You have three tickets, 3 ticket types basically. So this is where we want to talk more about tickets. Regular, that's what we talked about going into the printed guide, right? That's your basic ticket price. Then you have community. That is your button price. That is happening. That is already an automatic discount. Anyone with a button sees that change happen automatically, $1 off. That's festival wide. So community price is festival wide. And then participant. That's if you want to give a special discount to your fellow participants. That special price, the participant price, will only show up if you are a registered participant and are noodling around the site. That'll be if you or someone's in someone's cast, or if you were a primary on another production, you will see and have access to participant prices. So that's what those three main prices are. No, these can be changed at any time, but if they are changed after we go through this print deadline, they will not be, those changes will not be reflected in the printed guide. Is it the end of the world? No. But keep in mind, if you get it all done ahead of time, it's just going to be a little better. No surprises for your audiences later, right? And remember, all of these things can be changed in individual performances or in that handy guide proof. That tab will also get you to all the right places here. From there, you can have some fun. This is when we start to talk about pay what you can ticket prices, where you suggest a price, but the audience can pay whatever they are able to. So that is an option, especially if you're trying to really just get some butts in your seats for previews, things like that. There are levels, and this one I think is probably the most confusing for people. So levels is a public ticket setting. So this is not like comps or codes or anything like that. This is when you set different levels for your tickets. I think this primarily comes into play for people who do maybe a VIP experience, for audiences. So you have a public option to buy the $50 VIP ticket or the $13 general seating. Things like that. Or maybe it's, I think this has become a thing since COVID, which is great. There's a $30 option if you can afford to pay more and support the arts. But then there's also the $10 option if it's been a rough month, things like that. So, but these are public prices and entirely based in trust. There's no checks and balances here. It's the public price options for your show. So that's what those are. And then there's discount codes. These are so fun, where you set special prices. You can set like a certain price, maybe it's $5, or you could set pay what you can. These are great for your fellow participants. You all will do a lot of comp swaps. That's the hardest word, is comp swaps. That's a great way to fill your houses and a great way to make sure you're seeing each other's shows, which essentially saves everybody money, or at least you break even that way, right? This is also great for people if you need someone to run your box office. Give them a ticket. So comps are going to be helpful there, or discounts, things like that. It's also a great way to encourage your friends to see your show. Maybe you have your show listed at $15, knowing that you're going to use a discount code for like 90% of your marketing. Because all of your different friends, you can have a different. You can have best friends. Or people from a certain area, family, things like that. Use that because people feel a little indebted when you're like, hey, pal, I've missed you so much. Come see my show. Here's a discount code. Well, they're going to show up because now you've given them a special code. They feel a little more obligated. So play with that. Use those to your advantage.
If you want to learn more about all of our ticketing info, guess what you go to? Our virtual web session all about ticketing, where we'll tell you how to do all of these things and more, or your participant packet. So basically all of like how-tos are in that guide. And then we're also going to email you out some like specific ways for you to share comp codes and discount codes that will get your eyes on more tickets, including our donors and our volunteers. So accessibility requests, anybody can make an accessibility request in line when they buy a ticket. So make sure you download your will call in advance and a plan to accommodate those. And if you can't accommodate them, make sure that you're in communication with whoever's making an accessibility request. There's also flags that you can do on the performance to show what you have available, whether that's an interpreter, whether that's accessible seating, whether that's just a multitude of things is on that. So go into your participant packet, look at the accessibility section. We're going to send a participant email about this as well so that you know how to make sure you're making these available on your site and clear. Because for us, the major thing we want you to do is make sure that what you are providing is clear. You do not want to say you can provide something that you cannot provide, and vice versa. If you're not advertising what you can provide, nobody's going to be able to use it. We have an accessibility workshop as well that covers all of this. And participant payouts?
Yeah, participant payouts. So really quick, I do want to hit on the ticketing. Remember, your will call lists are available. All of the ticketing things are on the site. So you can give away comps. You can do everything on the site. I recommend at this stage, especially before tickets go on sale, to play with that, kind of look around, kind of see how the site works. And then when you have questions on May 2nd, we'll have that workshop. So participant payouts, you will get paid at the end of the festival. Yay, how are we already talking about payout? Within 7 days of the close of the festival, so after the 25th, you will, 7 days after the close of the festival, you will get an email to request a check. that is how we send payment. You'll be sent a newsletter that you're basically asked to give your address because we know people move and we want to make sure we have the most current address, and to tell us what box office sales you had that were not sold on the site, whether that's a third party or at the door, things like that. We want to know how many numbers were in total. That way we can put that in our annual report. So just keep an eye out for your newsletters after the festival, and that's how you get your monies.
I think we're going to chat really quickly. Volunteers, we need them. Please do it. We'll send you guys an email about how to get involved and what we need. We also have an internship available. It's a paid internship. So if you know any folks who are looking to get college credit to help out somewhere, we have a paid internship available through the festival as well. So please spread the word about that to the people that you know that are in school. And awards. So Freak Awards. Okay, we're going to talk really quickly about awards. And then I think we're actually going to do Q&A maybe at, we won't have time, to be honest. So I think what we're going to do... I think what we're going to do is make sure that we answer any of the Q&A that is on the chat, and any of the Q&A that's in this room when we go to our mixer, because they need to load in another show. Yeah. So that's how we're going to handle Q&A, and we'll make sure that we get all your questions answered. Just sorry that you can't do it. So we're going to talk about awards really quick, and including our community awards, our sponsored awards, and encores. So Freak Awards are voted on by the community and are presented at the ceremony with that cute little blue statuette. He's like a blue freak little guy. That is our mascot, the Freaks. There's a little freak inside of everyone. And so you get your little freak, and it's like best solo show, best whatever. It is your category, and also international, Fringe First, and Top of Fringe. Those are those community awards. You get to vote if you're a registered Fringe participant, venue manager, or audience member who sees a certain number of shows and leaves a certain number of reviews on Hollywood Fringe. That's how the algorithm works. Everybody that gets that gets balloted, and then on the ballot we're like, don't vote for a show you didn't see. like we have some guidelines when we send emails out. Can people technically do it? Sure. Do people do it? Mostly not. People are pretty honest, actually. Yeah. These productions with the most votes in any category then get into their nominations part. So like the top 5 of every nominated category, and then I think it's a little bit different for the bigger categories. But basically at least 5 people get nominated from that category. And then from there we have the winner of that award. And that is how those specific community votes are. Those are the little freak statuettes. We also have the curated awards program, which is Discover Fringe Awards, formerly known as Sponsored Awards.
And our new industry program. So we're going to be sending out, we're going to give a little teaser here because we're going to send you out so much information. We just announced on Friday, you may have read the email, hopefully, but we're partnering with industry. We're really trying to create Fringe as a launch pad. That has been our mission and our goal over the last couple of years, and we finally get to kind of push that forward thanks to Carly, our communications director, who is leading this new exciting program. So, yes, Carly. So this is your way to connect with industry, and this is our way to make sure they are available to you. So please pay attention to your emails, because it's up to you. You get to get as involved as you want. We're not going to force you to give tickets to industry members. We're only allowing the information to be public for you, and for you to make the best decision for you. We're bringing people to the table. You get to decide whether they eat. So keep an eye out for that. Along with that is the Sponsored Awards or Discover Fringe Awards, and those are curated by outside orgs. So keep an eye out for your newsletter there as well on how to apply and to make sure you are noticed. With that, I'm going to quickly throw it over to Matt Quinn, who runs the Encore program, because that is one of those, and it gets a little bit confusing since we do not run it, but he does, and we support it.
Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone out there. Just quickly, no, it's okay, I'll just do this. Hey there, here you go. Just quickly, because all this information is in the participant. Yeah, so check that out. So Fringe Encore Awards run after the Fringe. Check with your venue to see if they're participating. Most of them do. If your venue is not participating, like Broadwater has their own awards, you can still apply and you can still be judged and get a chance for an extension, usually 1 or 2 shows, co-pro deal in a participating venue. In addition, we'll be, once again, having Darren Lee Cole coming out here. He scouts for the New York City International Fringe Encore Series, and he works with us, and we'll also be touring the last few days. So sign up. It will be in part of the Sponsored Awards sign up. And when you sign up, you'll also be signing up for Pick of the Fringe, which is a curated cabaret that runs during the Fringe. And so check out your participant file.
All right. I feel like we're football. Take a knee, Matt Quinn.
If you're like, hey, that was a lot of last minute information, because it was. Award.
Truth.
all of the stuff that was at the end is actually also going to be covered next week in our festival expectations. So we're going to go deeper into that awards process, deeper into it from a participant perspective. So don't worry, we got you. Let's hang out. If you have questions on the chat, we'll reach out to you via the chat. If you have questions here live, come hang out with me and Lois for a little bit. Bye.
Yes, thank y'all. Happy Fringe. Sorry, I keep yelling into the microphone. What's wrong with me?
So next time what I wanted to do was try to get a microphone that would run through the house and then run through my system. So you guys could be conscious of the volume.
And next time, he did this really cool thing where he can pin a chat.
You can rewind it, unless it should be. I'll have to end it first, right? Or can you rewind? You can rewind it, right? Yeah, so you can got lower thirds. I just pin questions.
Hey, but man.
I will be here.
QR code, QR code, QR code. You know what? We figure out how to generate a QR code. You know what?
Do you know about Linktree? You can do all multiple different things.
My best friends that I have.